ladies and gentlemen. Today is the last session of November MSP Initiative. MSP Talk. It is November 30th. This is the last day of the month. And then we will be officially in December and hopefully in the final leg of 2023. MSPinitiative.com. This session is being recorded. This session, every other session that we have is available at MSPinitiative.com. So check it out. It's in podcast and video format. Pick whichever one works best for you. Community Minds. We're doing a couple of these next year. Totally educational event. We did our first one of these in August. It worked out really well. We loved that we took down the barrier between people that are helping fund the event, vendors, and MSPs who are who come to learn from the event. And we kind of changed the format a little bit. So we really love these. Stay tuned for information for next year. We were just talking to Reed Warren on Tuesday from IT Valuations, and he said a session that he would be interested in doing, which I thought was a really good idea, was 19 things that change the valuation of your business, either up or down. I don't think you probably know all 19 of those things. And if you don't know them, how do you know whether you're moving in the right direction or not? So I thought that was a pretty good idea. I digress. That's an example of a workshop that we could do at MSP Community Minds. Of course, we had a ton of block parties, after parties, party parties. This is definitely something that we like to do. Our last big one of the year, that's which somebody told me was our premium event. I'm quoting somebody, was in Orlando at IT Nation. That's where we brought in Better Than Ezra, Sugar Ray, and Tonic. And the year before we brought in
All American Rejects.
There it is. And so, yes, we like to do some pretty cool things for the community. These are absolutely about you guys. We have plenty of these planned for next year. They're all different shapes and sizes, but we promise a pretty good time. So stay tuned for us announcing those for next year. We have some community offers, which are just companies from around the industries doing offers and hookups for you. We have our industry calendar, which is going to actually finally post all the 2024 dates. There's like 300 of them. Yes, there's that many events that happen across the year. It just is a thing. I don't expect you to actually go to 300 events. If so, I don't know how your businesses are running, but I digress. So that is everything you need to learn at mspinitiative.com. And yes, thank you for reminding me, Jen, who's behind the scenes. We do actually have dates for the MSP Community Mind events. There's 2 of them next year. One's in Nashville, April 17th and 18th. One's in Denver, July 24th, 25th. Again, totally different format. I think we're just trying to, blend the conversation so that it's less about selling things and more about learning things. I don't know how else to say that. I digress. We bring back one of our favorites, Kelcye, who's a Dallas fan with the Philadelphia Eagles cup today. I couldn't help but bring that. Yep, there it is. See? Yep, in all its glory. So I had to wear my Eagles jersey because, it's that time of year and, big game.
I did almost wear my Cowboys jersey today, but I was like, is that too aggressive? I don't know. So I wore my MSP Initiative blue instead.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. So
next time I'll come prepared.
So you have your blue. I have blue. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yes, it is definitely that time of year. I'm in a reflection time of year, right? Where even though the year's not 100% done and there's still things happening, believe it or not, people don't just go to sleep in December, I think. Not here. I know we definitely don't, but kind of in an evaluation mindset, right? How'd the year go? What worked? What didn't? Where are we going next? Are we repeating or are we changing it up? Kind of need to do this exercise, right? Because otherwise you just keep on doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. And usually that's not a good thing. So
that's the definition of insanity.
It is. It is absolutely right. So, in that mindset, I actually think back and I'm like, okay, well, I thought about where all my airplanes ended up this year. Some ended up on the other side of the ocean. Did a little bit of European travel this year because it kind of all their stuff kind of finally came back. Obviously, a lot of stuff here in the States. Didn't really make it down to our friends down in like Australia, New Zealand, like APAC region, right? But I think that, we'll see some of that next year. Finally, since like, the pandemic kind of shut them down and they kind of put like a fence up around their whole place. And now that fence is gone, theoretically. So, but big picture, right? Like, I'm going to take this from both sides. I'm going to take your feedback here, Kels. Like, we've definitely heard the concept of event fatigue. Yes. I mean, it's
absolutely
not the first time we're going to hear this, not the last time. And I feel like we constantly are revisiting, like, what makes a good event? Is it the number of people? Is it, the nighttime activities? Is it, the actual content? Is it, did the people actually take something away? Is it the swag? I don't know, but I can tell you what, there are some staple event goers, right? People who I feel like two out of 4 weeks of the month they're on the road as MSPs, which I think is a bit much, unless like your operation's so tight and it's like on autopilot that you don't need to be there every day, which I'm sure everybody would love to get to, but let's be practical a little bit. So, like, I think the answer to this question may be different depending on what chair you're in, but I want to hear from your point of view in your mind, because you did how many events this year?
I actually was thinking I should have counted before this, around 30 something.
Okay. So that's a good amount, right? So we said potentially 300 here in North America events.
Yeah.
30. That's a pretty good sample. Okay.
Yes.
So 30 events that you went to. Think macro, think big picture. In your opinion, what is a successful event versus a maybe not so successful event?
Yeah, I do see this point in the year as a really reflective time, and obviously, as we move into what we're planning ahead for, this is heavy on everyone's minds. I think a mark of a good event is attendees saying that they want to return next year.
Okay.
Because attendees are the reason we're able to show up as vendors. If no one shows up, that event stops happening. I think content is huge right now. Nobody wants 300 events. Like, nobody wants to waste their time. I do, like you said, these people are business owners. They're taking time away from their businesses and their lives to go to this. So if it's not valuable to them, they won't continue going. On the vendor side, I mean, getting in front of the right audience is always important. So it goes literally, if the content is good, it gets the right people that then the vendors are appropriately matched with. I've definitely been to ones that it's just like, this is not a good match for what we do and who's here. And so that's always a little bit frustrating, but you make the best of it and you just kind of take note, like, that's not going to happen again. But yeah.
Well, one thing's for sure, the same content over and over again is going to fall pretty flat pretty quick. That's true.
Absolutely.
And like, I think part of the problem, and I, like in my mind, right, like a one that's kind of exploded on the scene over the last 1, 2, 3 years, like Right of Boom became very popular overnight, right?
Yeah.
And like, I think the reason that became so popular was they were like, hey, instead of trying to serve everybody on every content track, we're going to narrow what we're talking about. So very security focused and a very specific part of security even. And when we create our main stage content, it actually is like a college course. It starts off at 100, 101, 102, and it kind of goes through like a building process. So by the time you get to the end of this event, you've actually had like an accumulation of thing happen, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was a different way, a different model, a different content stacking. The plan made more sense on how people generally learn, right? And so maybe that's an idea of how to like get out of the normal everyday rinse and repeat thing that we've seen for a long, long time and kind of say, hey, we're going to start planning something specific. And if you're interested in that specific topic, then you're going to come.
Yeah.
And so I really like that, nouveau way, right? Like a new way of trying to get to it. By the way, Frank, I see you there, buddy. I saw your comment. We'll see.
I
We'll
did
see.
too.
Game of the week, okay? Sunday, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. I'm gonna be in the building. No surprise. If memory serves, I think we may have a handshake wager. So we'll have to have a conversation after the game. But I got you, buddy. We'll see how your Niners do on in South Philadelphia. That being said, back to the content. Maybe we could learn a lesson from the NFL on how to run the MSP industry. I think that could be interesting. Could you imagine like renting Jerry's World, 90,000 people coming to an event for IT people in the stadium? That would be awesome. Like, what's the,
I think there are some very passionate people.
I mean,
That
like,
would be interesting.
we think a big event in our sandbox is like 3 or 4 thousand people, right? Like that's
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of like the big ones. But when like in reality, if you think about it, like there are events that are 20,000 people, 30,000 people, right? Like so we're kind of still baby in terms of sizing if you really think about it. But I get would you believe, and I mentioned it on an earlier podcast, but I'm gonna throw it at you. So I was talking to somebody in Europe, and they were saying that in Germany alone, here we go. Frank came back. I'm counting on some Philly cheesesteaks or something better. All right, Frank, I got you, buddy. Kelcye will tell you, I know where to go get a good Philly cheesesteak.
He definitely does. I got the George Bardisi tour not that long ago. And
It was a
very
quick tour. I felt like I gave you like a very abridged tour, but at least I got you to the right places.
Yes. I had a great time.
Okay, awesome. And like, don't get anything in Texas called Texadelphia or any variant of Texas cheesesteak. It's not a thing. Don't do it. Save yourself. You're only going to get good cheesesteaks from Philadelphia proper. That's it. Not Subway, by the way. Don't do that either. You know, if I want to get some good barbecue, I'll come to Texas. Okay. So I'm just putting it out there for the masses. So back to the theme, right? It's interesting, right? Like how people decide what feels good, what doesn't. Let me give you some, bar rescue-ish concepts about not just our industry, but any event, right? If you have the wrong size venue for the amount of people that you have, you could have had a really successful event with a lot of people, but if it feels like the venue is oversized, the vibe could be off, right? Because then it feels like you're empty. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I hate to keep on going back to Bar Rescue because I've watched so many episodes, and actually, I think somebody got me the shut it down button. Because the guy likes to say shut it down all the time on the show.
I don't know, but I believe you.
You watch a YouTube clip, you'll get it. But anyway, they call it the butt funnel. Now follow me. It sounds funny, but like you gotta engineer your space to kind of create people interacting with each other, right? Otherwise, everybody's spread out and like you don't get that kind of vibe, right? Yeah. So there's something to that, right? The correct venue for the size of event you have. That could go the other way, right? We said, hey, what happens if you have something too big?
Right.
We have. What happens if you have something too small?
Yep.
Now all of a sudden there's multiple places, and now you have like a disjointed situation going on where there's many places that you have to, kind of sew together in order to get your people to fit. So, for all the professional event planners out there, I don't even consider myself one. Event planner by accident, I guess, is what I call myself. Like that is like, the foundation conversation, right? Like if these things aren't figured out at the base level, everything else that goes from there could really not matter, right? Because things are not quite in the right place. Okay. So we could talk about event fatigue. My best advice, I'm sure Kelcye will give you her opinion in a second. My best advice to you when we post the 300 plus events for 2024. Number one, if you have friends in the industry, you should talk to them and plan together to go to these places, because otherwise you may never get together in person. So I feel like if you are part of a informal group of MSPs, or maybe you're part of a formal peer group or some sort of, situation like that, talk to the people in your group and plan to go to places together, because then you can, finally, take the screen down, put the cell phone down, and actually like get together in person. I think that there's a lot of value there. So that being said, a lot of people like to pick their events based on the destination city.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
gonna say location. Yeah,
Yeah. So like there's some cool events like NerdioCons in Punta Cana this year in Dominican Republic. That's kind of like a cool vacation-y, thing.
in February too.
I think it's during Valentine's Day actually, or that week. So maybe a combo event there. But if you have to take the significant other. That being said, like there was that the Dublin event with DattoCon was really awesome last year. I thought that was a cool backdrop city for a conference. PAX 8's event in Denver went really well this year. Denver's a great city. Obviously, you get a lot of Dallas, you get a lot of Florida, you get a lot of Chicago.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like the destination city you may be your reason for why you're going to an event. Fine. I know ASCII did Hawaii, right? So if you really want to use that as a reason to go to Hawaii, I digress. That being said, figure out the content that you're after, right? The first time I ever went to IT Nation way back in, I think it was like 2010 or 2011, they're like, hey, there's every content track you could imagine at the time. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm never going to be able to go to all of this. What do I want to get out of this event? Right? Like, what are the 2, 3, 4, 5 things that I'm looking for specifically? And maybe I'm looking for information that's not in a formal breakout or whatever. Maybe I'm trying to get information from the people on the ground, right?
Mhm.
So my best advice to you, other than location, is can you get to the information that you're after? What are you looking to do in your business? Are you trying to bring something new in? Are you trying to change how your agreements work? Are you trying to figure out a new pricing scheme? Are you trying to figure out the next security thing that's coming? Like, what is it that you want to learn, and see if that's that type of information that you're going to get from whatever the event is, right?
Yeah.
So those are the things that I usually think about when I'm a MSP trying to figure out what makes sense. Not going to 300 events makes sense. Maybe I can reasonably get out of the office. If I'm super aggressive, can you get out once a month? Sure, you could. Once a quarter, more realistically. So if I'm going to 4 events a year or 5 events a year, I want to make sure I'm getting the most out of that time out of the office, because otherwise I got to have a business to run. Those are
Yeah.
the things I start thinking about when I decide which one of the 300 I'm going to.
Yeah. I'd say on the note about meeting up with people that you even have an informal group with, I think another way to spin that would be each of you go to different ones. You do have to trust that that other person will take very good notes and actually show up to things, but that could be a beneficial use of your time. If you only have 4 you can go to, maybe splitting it up and comparing notes at the end could be a good idea. But yeah, location obviously has an influence if it's closer for you, if it's something you can reasonably get to. I also think, though, looking at the agenda and the topics beforehand, they're not always very available, but sometimes they are. I'd say on our side, even though it usually takes a little more effort, but there are some events that prefer that you don't give a sales pitch when you're presenting, and they prefer that you give some sort of educational, informational presentation. And I think that there's always more to gain from an event that does that. Like, it's tougher on us to create something new and completely targeted for that specifically, but I think it's better for everyone when it's not just here's a product we sell, you should buy it. It's more dynamic, it's more interesting, it's better for everyone in the crowd. So I think that events that really target education and sharing information are definitely more worthwhile as well.
I've always wondered, you ever go to the events, especially the larger ones, where they try and scan your badges so that they can figure out how many people are going into each session?
Mhm.
I was always wondering at some point somebody would come out with like their Square credit card thing and okay, just give me your credit card. And I'd be like, I don't know if that would work, but wouldn't that be interesting? Literally just
It's,
have
yeah, it's the same as somebody just standing at a bar door and being like, covers $5, and they don't
yeah,
actually
I
work
mean,
there, but
I wonder if somebody will ever get to that point. I feel like it's possible.
I
I
definitely think
I
so.
want to be there when it happens, so just be like, yep, I called this right here, George. That being said, so let's go another direction. I feel like there's a lot of people who say, hey, the same people go to the same events. they're not seeing a lot of people different from event to event. And so like they feel from a networking standpoint, it's just always the same people all the time. I don't know what your numbers say, but especially for the larger, the bigger, events in our little sandbox, I see something like a 40 to 50% change in the people who go from one year to the next. So let's say IT Nation, I'm going to use them, they're the big guy in the block. Let's say IT Nation 2022 versus IT Nation 2023. I see a 40 to 50% attendee shift from one year to the next. What do you see?
I think that's an interesting question.
Have you ever looked at the names that you get when you go to these?
Oh, of course. I mean, those kinds of things are community focused. You're getting absolutely everyone that you can to show up to something like that. Anyone who's someone in the industry. I do think that, where was I going with that? I lost my thought.
That's okay. I start off with, some people feel that the same faces show up every time. And maybe they're just the same people that sit by the bar. Could be. But I do think, in my opinion, there's enough net new people. Like, let's say in North America, there's 90,000 MSPs. Okay. So
right, that's what I was getting at. I remember now. We only see like what 20% of the total number.
That may be very high.
That's a made up number.
Yeah.
7% of the total number of MSPs in just the US alone. It's like, even if you are seeing repeat people, that little bit of new, it's a little trickling in. I met a guy recently, like on a weekend event that was happening, who bought our product in 2020. That was long before I even worked in this industry. And he's never gone to an event, never run into us anywhere. And he's been using us since then. And it's just like, it's wild to meet someone who's never interacted with you at a show. Because I just feel like you run into so many people, you see the same faces a lot, you see a lot of new faces. But it's a good reminder that there's a lot of people out there that you've never run into.
I agree, to the point, and I think I started down this track and I lost thought.
Sorry. Yeah.
I was talking to somebody in Europe. They were saying in Germany, there's 90,000 IT companies. Just in Germany.
That's a lot.
I'm like, how, as in North America, there may be 90,000 IT companies. So like a net new 90,000 exists somewhere else. I mean, so that comes to show you there's a lot of IT companies and technology companies out there. And you know what? They're not all the same. There are some clever people out there who have come up with things that like I never thought of.
Yeah.
And so, like the internet's a cool place, but man, I've learned more by seeing people in person in their bubble. And like, I've traveled a little bit internationally now. And man, there's the same challenges, but the way that you can solve problems, there's some really clever solutions out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people see a problem and they create a solution for it. It's maybe a problem you've never run into, but yeah, no, I agree.
Super
exciting. I think that's a good reminder that while events are great and put you in front of a lot of people, there is value in doing things within your own community, doing things within online community. Like, events aren't the end all.
100%. No, I mean, listen, there's a lot of places online, and I think Jay McBain one year did like 100 communities that you could be, involved with online, but like there's Facebook, there's Reddit, there's Discord, there's Slack. I mean, there's all these forums, like there's just a lot of places where, almost an unlimited amount of places, I feel like, where you can get online, but within reason though, guys, right? Like, back to the whole, you need to run your business and like make sure your stuff's getting done.
Right.
You could get, sucked down the rabbit hole and like be online all day long to the point where like you're not getting anything else done. So like,
not reasonable. Yeah.
be, like, I appreciate the value of those, but at some point, like, I do need to get my work done too.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't saying be involved in every single one.
What? But you are.
No, I'm absolutely not.
Wow. Which brings me to my next topic that I think you are very qualified to talk about. when it comes to the internet and social and the communities and the online stuff, like creating your personal brand is like super important as your starting position, because in my opinion, the company marketing, and I'm going to borrow Gary V here, Gary Vaynerchuk, go on online if you haven't heard of the guy before, I'm sure you have. But like he at DataCon a couple years ago, he was he was a keynote speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying that if you're a company below $25 million a year in revenue, the person is the brand of that company. Like you can create whatever company name, company logo, company, tagline, whatever. And yeah, you can have your company pages, whatever. But like if you're below 25 million in revenue, the people of the company are actually the brand of the company. And so, because you humanize and personalize exactly what you're after, right? So maybe once you get to a certain size above that, is a different story because you're big enough that there's more of a corporate messaging. Okay, fine. But I would say the majority of people in MSP IT land are not doing 25 million in revenue. Let's be honest. So talk to everyone a little bit about the best way to start to gain traction from a personal branding standpoint.
Yeah. So I know I've said before that just starting is the best way to go about it because you will learn and figure it out as you go. There's so much information out there, specifically, like, let's just say posting on LinkedIn. There's so much information that's like, don't post after 11 a.m. Don't edit your caption, interact with other people's stuff, comment on blah, 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 blah. And it's just, if you try to do all of those things, you try to do every little thing, one, it's unreasonable and not possible, but also it's not coming off as you. I get very frustrated when I can see that someone has commented on something using ChatGPT.
Can you tell?
Yeah. Just because it doesn't sound like, of course, there are probably some really good ones that I don't catch, but if it is just a generic, you plug it in, how do I comment on the social media post, put in the caption, and then it spits something out. It's not good and it's not authentic, and it comes across as just like, all right, this isn't actual true engagement. This isn't something I want to deal with. So first, just truthfully being yourself. There are great tools out there that can help you come up with what to say, but putting it in your own voice and asking your own questions is very important. If somebody wanted something generic out there, they could just go find it on the internet themselves. The value is in what you think and what you bring to the table. And so going about it, however comes naturally to you, I think is the best way to do it. And just, sharing your voice, being active and participating and asking questions if you maybe don't understand things, reaching out to people, using your network. And I think it all just kind of goes back to the people. Like at the end of the day, what the people want to hear, what you want to talk about. I mean, yesterday I posted on LinkedIn about friendship bracelets, which seems silly, but that's relevant to me and what I'm doing and my brand. So here I am.
So how is the friendship bracelet business going?
I'm going to be very honest with you. I have put those beads away for a little bit. I did go through and I resorted everything. I spent a Friday night watching Elf and sorting all my letters in alphabetical order in a little container. It was really cathartic, but that was all right, now I know what I have. I'm going to take a couple weeks off from this. But it's good. It's been really fun. I enjoy it, had a good time. I will say, fun fact, E's, R's, and A's all run out the quickest. I know E is the most common letter in the English alphabet, but R's and A's were kind of surprising.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, also, that spells era. Ooh, Taylor Swift.
Oh, yeah, your fave. I know. Yeah,
she was my number one on Spotify again this year.
And Jen's fave, who's behind the scenes trying to figure out when the next one she's going to is, I'm sure. Don't worry, Jen. We'll figure out a way.
We can both go to New Orleans.
See that? She's already Googling when that date is.
October.
Yeah, just a reminder for all you Taylor. Yeah, let's go together. She said, let's just a reminder for all you Taylor Swift fans out there. She is not originally from Nashville. She's originally from outside of Philadelphia. So in case you're confused, there's even like a little Taylor Swift museum or something you can go to in Reading, Pennsylvania. See that? You didn't know that? There is. It
And
exists.
you didn't take me there?
I mean, it's not exactly in Philadelphia. Like it's a bit of a trek out of Philly, but it exists. So yes, she is from Reading, Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia. Forget all this Nashville nonsense. I don't even think she lives in Nashville anymore. I think she lives in New York,
Yeah.
city. So I digress.
I will say, when I walked into the link with George, I did immediately say, wow, Taylor Swift has been here, because I thought that was funny.
She
She's
has
an
been
Eagles
most
gal, but she's been
lately.
wearing a lot more red and gold lately.
Well, we know why. Let's be honest, okay?
I mean, I would too if Travis Kelce was my boyfriend.
Now hold on. You've been watching the Kelcye podcast, right?
I have been, yes.
Okay, New Heights. Okay, it's
New
like
Heights.
I think it's the number one podcast still for like ever and ever, last couple years. Um, you saw Jason Kelce's wife, Kylie Kelcye, come on the podcast. Have you gotten there that far yet?
She's like yelled things, but I haven't got to that interview yet.
All right, so that's coming up.
But I
You'll
watched the documentary.
okay in the documentary. I believe she said documentaries on Amazon Prime. It's called Kelcye. Yeah, both brothers are in it, but it's about the older brother, Jason, who's on the Eagles. Um, she says, let's say Jason didn't finish his career in Philadelphia, which is never going to happen. He's finishing his career as an Eagle, started and finished. She said, let's say he went to another team. I would never wear another team's jersey.
Wow.
I would wear the Eagles jersey with the Kelcye on the back.
That's
So
cool.
that's the right answer. That's the right answer. I'm just gonna be honest. So anyway,
I mean, I have been a Cowboys fan since the day I was born. My dad has a Cowboys jacket that is as old as I am.
mm-hmm.
I'd wear another team something just for fun. Also, if it's to support someone I love, I I almost ended up in an Eagles hoodie if it would have been colder at the game that we went to.
I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying. There was another person, I will not name him, but who is a Vikings fan who came to Philadelphia to watch a game, and I said, just wear neutral colors, man, it'll be fine. I
Yeah,
think
he told me too, and I did
I
it.
gave you the same advice. You did not take that advice. That's fine. So what did he do? He bought Eagles merchandise
Mhm.
to go to the Eagles Vikings game. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that because like that's like a one and done buy, right? Because you're too scared to go into the stadium with your own gear. I digress.
I mean,
But
I've done that. Like, so I have my Eagles cup, but I also have my Cubs. I've got a Cubs shirt. I've got a Phoenix Suns. It's just kind of fun. It's like a memento of where you were.
I got you, but I'm never gonna wear that. Like I found a Cubs like knit hat, because I went to the
Cute.
field. I was like, I'm never wearing this hat. Like for Philadelphia, just not gonna do that, right? So
Maybe it's just a Philly thing.
maybe, maybe. That being said,
Bad drivers and never wearing anything but Eagles gear.
oh well, listen, Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, Sixers. I guess the Philadelphia Union soccer team, whatever. Which brings us on to the subject of swag. Why is it that an entire sub industry of swag has created itself around the stuff that we give away for free, like the bouncy balls and the pens and the I know Jen loves koozies. Like I just feel like nobody like I guess the Yeti mugs are kind of expensive, right? When they give those
Yeah.
away, but like who's giving away premium swag?
You know, swag is kind of a love-hate relationship for me because I think useful swag is incredibly important. I don't want to be giving someone something that they're going to throw away. Excuse me. But I also think about how much trash we accumulate in this industry, in this job. We only have one planet. I'm not going to go into too much of it, but we create a lot of trash. And that also goes into my, I don't want to give people stuff that's not useful. I
Agree.
hate giving away trash and creating more trash. So in that case, Primo Swag to me is something that even though it's branded, you'll still end up using it. I think sunglasses are a really great example of that. I know of MSPs who have said, yeah, I take them and I keep them on my boat. So whenever I take people out, if they don't have any, like, boom, they've got sunglasses. I think that's great. I have mine in a little tray right by the door with my roommate has a dog. So like with the leash. So you're about to go walk the dog, pop on a pair of sunglasses. Like I light colored eyes people, you shouldn't really go out in the sun without sunglasses. You're at increased risk of glaucoma because you're absorbing more light. My grandma told me about that, and now I don't ever go outside without sunglasses on.
Hmm.
Also, my sunglasses are prescription though, which you learned at the Eagles game because I
I
couldn't
did
see
learn
without
that.
them.
I was like, it's a little dark now. She's like, prescription. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
I wasn't thinking that a daytime game it would get dark. I should have just brought my regular glasses, but anyway, I like useful, practical. I mean, koozies are great. We here at our house, we have a drawer full of koozies that come out. You've got people over, like, great. There's Quick Pass, Kaseya, some bar down the road and somebody's wedding koozies all come out. And it's like, all right, nice. So it's useful. The branding isn't as important, I feel like. I mean, I have a collection of bouncy balls and beach balls and socks. Socks are a big
Why
hit.
socks?
I
Why?
do. I have a whole drawer of vendor socks.
So like, where's the rest of the apparel? Like, do you start giving out underwear and t-shirts and sweatpants?
We do give out t-shirts.
Well, yeah, everybody does. I mean, like, at what point does the whole wardrobe just come out?
Yeah, I do think that's an interesting bridge. Hoodies are
Should I roll out like one of those mannequin models with like the
yeah.
whole track jumpsuit ready to go, and then like have them, like, I don't know, like,
I think hats are another that, like, they're pretty easy. I think beanies, that's an untapped market. I think I have a scale pad beanie.
hmm.
But I think that's an untapped. So much of North America is cold, a lot longer than Texas. So I don't really think about it, but the fact that it's already snowing places is wild. It's
Ugh,
like 60 something degrees here in Texas right now.
yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to think about snow.
But unique and useful are two important things for swag, I think. I know I've had some MSPs be like chip clips, bottle openers. Those are always useful. I don't care that they're branded. They sit in a drawer, I use it and then they go back. It's like, okay. Like
Okay.
at that point, you kind of get away from the like relevant in your head because of marketing messaging, but it is still something that lives in their kitchen. So
That's a good point. I mean, I feel like with it, like, once you get into the 25, 20, 30 plus per unit, gets a little crazy, right? Like, the cheapest Yeti you're putting out there is like $45. But
yeah, I think those Yetis should be like partner only type things.
yeah, yeah. I've seen some interesting ones, like, like, it was like a pizza stone that came,
Yeah,
and I was like, a branded pizza stone. I was like, getting a little crazy now.
yeah. I saw, chargers. I feel like those are always decent to have in your travel bag at least. I've been saved by a couple vendor charging bricks and cords before.
Same. We've done some chargers. They
Yeah.
definitely come in handy at the best time. Like, I guess back to personal branding. I feel like with all of my TSA troubles, I could have an entire line of um TSA approved merchandise,
Yeah, you absolutely could.
stuff that won't get you stopped at the airport.
Yeah. No, that's, I mean, something I've considered personally. I feel like I've already got my kind of travel kit built out, but it could be great for someone who's, a newer to the space MSP or I don't know. I feel like a lot of people probably have their set in stones, but it could be good.
Yeah, like, I could do an entire series on things that will make it through TSA that are approved, unless
Um,
unless you're George, because then it's
unless you're
not.
George. George was quite pleased that I got stopped at security going.
I would literally forgot about this.
Yeah.
This is hysterical. So like I was telling we're yeah, so now all the like at all the new stadiums, or like the bigger stadiums, or I don't even know, but at least in
I think
Philadelphia,
everywhere.
they rolled out like they don't want to do the pat downs if they came off like this nouveau metal detector where like
Disney has them too.
okay, well I haven't been to Disney in a minute, so there it is. So like the nouveau metal detectors, you keep everything in your pocket. They don't want your keys, your cell phone, nothing. Keep your watch on, keep your belt on, keep your change in your pocket, car keys, everything. And literally you walk through and they have like one person that's managing 4 gates at a time, basically 4 metal detectors. And I'm like, man, the airport could really take some notes from this, right? Like this could really speed things up in a good way. And I was like telling Kelsey, I was like, oh, we're gonna walk right through here. You're not gonna have a problem. Lo and behold, she got stopped, and I did it. I was like, okay, yeah, I was like, Cowboys jersey? I don't know. Maybe that was it. Couldn't tell you.
It was my clear bag. It is a hard shell little heart. I bought it to see Taylor Swift this summer. Look at how just frequently she comes up in our conversations. And it is hard on the sides, which was surprising when I bought it, but it did. As soon as they looked at it, they were like, okay, like you can see right through it. But yeah.
Yeah, you're like, you took that clear bag into a category that I don't think they're expecting.
I wasn't expecting it either, but my friend bought the tickets a week before. So my rush Amazon clear bag purchase, it came in and I said, well,
It's more like a clear hard shell.
yeah, it's like a clear case.
Mm-hmm.
But it
I don't
is
know.
really nice. Like I can put my glasses or my sunglasses in it and I know they won't get crushed.
That's true. That's true. 100%. So I at least for about 2 minutes, you got a little bit of the George experience.
I did. I did.
So that
I get it leaving events because I just win so many awards that they typically set off problems in the TSA lines. My last one of the year, I learned, and I just went ahead and pulled them out with my laptops. Of course, the bin still got flagged, and the guy moved things around. He opened it, and he looked at me, and he was like, "So that's how you know."
congrats. I don't get congrats. I get is this a weapon? And I'm like, it's a piece of plastic. Well, like what are you talking about?
I have before been like, I promise I won't hit anyone with it because they're like, this is pretty heavy. Like, I won't hit anyone.
Yeah.
Please just let me go to my flight.
Yeah. They're like, oh, you can step out and chip it to yourself. Be like, nah, sorry guys. I guess we're not taking this one home. I'll take a picture.
Yeah.
That's I
I'm
mean,
I'm planning ahead. I'm actually taking all the ones that I have from last year and this year to the office next month. And I'm like, should I just check that bag? Like, I
for the
probably
office in Vancouver.
Yep.
So you guys doing like a little kickoff.
No, I'm going to Seattle on PTO, and my friend and I are going to ride the train up and just see Vancouver. So I was like, well, if I'm there, it's 15 minutes. The train stop is 15 minutes from the office. So I'm just going to go by the office.
Is there a train that goes from Seattle to Vancouver?
Yep. And it's like $40.
But don't you have to cross the border?
Yeah, I guess you just do that at the train station before you get on.
Oh, huh. Never knew that. I've driven it.
Yeah, my friend hasn't done it, but her boyfriend's parents did when they came to visit, and they said it was great. So now we're gonna do it.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours by car.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
no traffic in the train.
true. It wasn't really traffic. Not a lot of people going from Seattle to Vancouver.
Well, I will be.
Yeah, like I'm curious to see how your border security experience goes. I have to come back and ask that question.
I've had decent luck. I went to Mexico for the first time with my passport, and I was so nervous. Jimmy and Cynthia were both ahead of me. Jimmy went through and they asked him his flight number, like all these things. And then Cynthia went through and they asked her like where she was coming from. And so I got up there and I was like, okay, I have all these things in my head. And the guy in Spanish asked me if I was ready for tequila. And I was like, that's what you're asking me? I said, yeah, I am. Any other questions? And he was like, you're good. Okay.
That's definitely not what I'm getting. That's for
Toronto didn't ask me anything at all. They didn't even stamp my passport, so they didn't care.
Frank says you need to come more into the Pacific Northwest. Frank, it's been a minute. I know. Every time I went to Eagles at Seattle, I lost. So I guess I got a sour with it. I know there's Eagles at Seattle. Is it next week or the week after? It's coming
The
up.
week after is Dallas.
So it's got to be. So this week's San Francisco. I think next week is Eagles at Seattle, and then it's Eagles Dallas, or Dallas and Seattle might be flipped. Whatever.
I know it's Dallas on my birthday.
Sorry, I can't make it, man. I asked. I got a shoe thrown at me when I said it might be going to. No, didn't work. So, but to that point, that NerdioCon event, our friend Natasha, if you don't know NerdioCon, great company. They do their event kind of, they try to go tropical a little bit, which is cool. They did a couple in, where was it, Cancun? So it was good. Now they're moving to the Dominican Republic, switching it up. But so it's during that week of going into Valentine's Day. But what is also that weekend?
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. And so that's where I think I will be.
That's fair.
Yeah. So of course Natasha is a Baltimore Ravens fan.
Yes,
and
she is.
she's like, what do I do? And I'm like, you're the conference planner. You're stuck. Even if your team makes it to the Super Bowl, you ain't going to the Super Bowl. You could be watching that on TV. And she was a little sour about it.
On the beach, though. You're watching it on the beach.
Nothing is as good as being in the building, man. I'm going to tell you right now. Like,
I've never been to a Super Bowl.
It's expensive. It's crazy. But, man, and it's totally a made-for-TV production. Let's be honest. Like,
yeah.
Super Bowl halftime show looks great on TV. It is not great in person. That being said, it is a different experience for sure.
The most recent episode of New Heights that I listened to, Travis talked about how Super Bowl is like an hour longer than a regular game because of all the, they're going to do this for TV and now this is getting set up. So
100% right.
Interesting.
Well, it's $1 billion event. That's what it is. And so by the way, Dallas and Seattle tonight, I'll be watching, Frank. We'll see if, all these Dallas people who are, I think Jerry Jones came out on Dallas radio this week and was like crying that the Eagles have still not lost another game. And I'm like, he's like, woe is me. And I'm like, you just just worry about your team, pal. We'll take care of us. You take care of you.
I do agree. Pointing fingers and getting stay in your own lane, focus on what you've got going on. I agree.
All right, you might not win the division. You're going to be in the playoffs. Worry about getting to a championship. Can you do that?
Well, he can't personally, but
I'm just saying.
Did you catch Dolly on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I saw your post about it.
It was neat.
We are the champions of what?
Everyone's hearts.
Okay. Last time I checked, the banner stopped in 1995 in Dallas. So I'm not sure what the championship song was about, but okay, it's cool.
Yeah. I thought it was an interesting choice, but it was fun. Everybody knows the words.
Listen, Queen's a great band, and they had a lot of great songs. More songs that people probably didn't even realize are Queen songs. That being said, you usually don't play that song until you have a trophy in your hand. Just saying. Yeah.
One of my college professors, she played that when we finished our last final of our senior year. That's always stuck with me.
Yeah, but
you're done.
You made it to the end. You've graduated into the
well, the Cowboys won that game, so that's what we were the champions of.
You played it during halftime. The game wasn't won yet.
It was good vibes, manifesting.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sure. I'll remember that, and I'll bring it up later on in the year. How about that?
I'm sure you will.
I will. I definitely will.
I will tell you, I store my Eagles cup between two Cowboys cups in my pantry.
When you go into your cabinet, the things look flipped over at times. I don't know.
I mean, I store them upside down, but
okay. Well, just saying. Maybe they get into a fight in the cabinet. I don't know.
No, they don't.
Okay. Might have to call your roommate. We'll have to stage some massacre in the cabinet. Okay.
She liked the birch beer, by the way.
Right?
So did my dad and my sisters. I took it on Thanksgiving. I showed up with it.
I like to introduce things to Pennsylvania stuff.
Yeah,
it was so funny. I took someone else to the same place, my place, Tony and Nick's. So if you're ever in Philadelphia, I know there's so many cheesesteak places. I know Gino's and Pat's, and that's the touristy places. It's fine. By the way, Pat's over Gino's every time if you have to choose between the two. But I'm a Tony and Nick's guy. So I took somebody at Tony and Nick's, and he was like, oh, no, I don't drink beer. And I'm like, "No, man, it's not like alcoholic beer. Just try it." And he loved it. And I'm
I
like,
thought
"Yeah,
it was beer when you ordered it too, and I was like,
did
God, I
you?"
don't want a beer right now.
Oh man, no, it's not a beer. It's like a not quite a root beer. It's like a Pennsylvania Dutch version of a root beer, I feel like.
Yeah.
So you got it. It came. He said, I think you got it on Amazon, right?
Yeah, I ordered it on Amazon. Okay, my roommate and I drank some, then I took some to Thanksgiving. So my dad and all my sisters tried it, and it was a hit. People really liked it. I
See that?
also brought candy from Canada. I kind of did an international thing when I showed up. I was like, here's things from my travels. Come try them.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
So,
it was neat.
so that being said, we got you in and out of Philadelphia unharmed.
Yep. Pink haired Prescott still makes me laugh. That is something a man chanted at me.
What was it?
Pink haired Prescott as we were leaving.
Was that? I know there was another one where that can't
He,
throw a party.
Dak can't even throw a birthday party.
There it
That
was.
one was also funny. I'll give him that.
So it wasn't bad. We got you in early. We got you out. It was a good plan for low risk entry and exit.
I will say, people at IT Nation, multiple people came up to me and they were like, oh, I can't believe you wore a Cowboys jersey to Eagles game. Like, you're so brave. And I was just like, isn't being bullied out of wearing it like, I don't know, cheap? Not a true fan. I'm not gonna let a little birdie fan bully me out of wearing my colors.
I was worried for your safety.
Yeah, I was a little bit when we got separated, but it was okay.
Yeah, but
I
so
can hold my own. I could beat somebody up if I needed to.
okay, all right. I'm glad we didn't have to get to that point.
Never have before, but
100%.
who knows?
But there is a double standard. I can wear an Eagles jersey into the Dallas Stadium
Yeah.
and have no fear.
Yeah.
Now, the only complaint, I've been to the Dallas Stadium a couple times. Cowboys cheesesteaks.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Oh my God. I somebody's got to complain to the NFL and get that place shut down.
Okay.
What? Why? Just because? Just
I
because they don't
mean,
Philly and they put the word cowboy in front of cheesesteak and that's okay?
if you think about it, it's meat and cheese and onions on a sandwich. Like,
Oh no. That's like you telling me, like, that's like somebody's like,
are you claiming that kind of food? Like you're saying nobody else can make them?
well, there is something to be said where the bread and the water that makes the bread, like it's a thing. Look it up. It's not just me saying it. It's part of the makeup of the sandwich.
I
So
think they can have it. It doesn't have to be good. It's just it's the best people here can get is like their attempt.
yeah,
Not everyone can fly to Philly for the weekend and get the best cheesesteak.
I think they should stick to barbecue and actual steaks and
I'm so over barbecue. I live here.
leave cheesesteaks to the professionals. That's what I got. I don't know.
Okay. I'll write a letter and let them know that you said so.
Yep. Send it to Roger Goodell and you can CC Jerry Jones. See if it gets anything done. I don't know.
Can you CC a letter?
Yeah, you send copies. Lawyers do it all the time. Like,
Okay.
when was the last time you sent a letter? Do you remember?
Yeah, I like to send letters. My best friend lives out of state. I send letters all the time and postcards.
All right. So, all right.
I send stuff to Morgan all the time too.
Well, oh, I'm sure. When's the last time you wrote a paper check?
Never.
Never. Do you even have checks?
No. I go by money orders if I need one. But it's like I've needed 3 in my entire adult life.
The only time I've ever needed to use a money order was I was going for the very first time for my TSA pre-check interview.
Mm.
And then I eventually got global entry. But my first TSA pre-check interview, the guy said that my driver's license and my birth certificate didn't match. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, well, your birth certificate has a middle initial and your driver's license doesn't. And I'm like, so what are you asking me to do? They're like, you need to go get a new driver's license. I'm like,
Oh my
why?
God.
So I went to the DMV, which was like a couple miles down the road in South Philly, not a good DMV. And they were like, oh, we only accept money orders at this DMV. And I'm like, I was like, where do you get a money order? I've never gotten a money order before. They're like, I'll go to Walmart. They'll get you one. I said, okay, cool. So I spent an hour in line at customer service at Walmart for, it was like 70 cents for a money order. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then I came back and I spent the rest of the afternoon at the DMV to literally get a new driver's license with my middle initial on it.
Wow.
And I went back to that same TSA pre-check office, and the guy thought I was crazy. He didn't believe me that I was able to get the ID in the same day because I burned the whole day. And
Yeah.
then he asked me 3 questions. You're like, all right, you're approved. I was like, all of that for 3 questions?
Oh my gosh.
Not good. So for that being, they wouldn't take a check. Everywhere else in Pennsylvania, no problem. But at the South Philadelphia DMV, money orders only.
I feel like it's typically cash, everyone I've been to. But my license expires next month, so I should figure that out. You just
should.
reminded me.
What? How? So your license is only good for 4 years in Pennsylvania. So the day after your birthday, every 4 years is when it expires. I don't know. Every state's different.
Yeah.
So,
This was my after I turned 21 adult ID, then it expires on your 30th birthday, which
okay,
is next month for me.
like
So
9 years.
yep. So but I'll have to do it before because my birthday's on a Sunday.
Okay,
So
well, better be proactive there, my friend.
I will. I'm
Actually,
planning my calendar out right now. So
there you go. Make sure you get it in there. We didn't even talk about your company, but if anybody wants to learn more about your company, where do they go?
I work at Cyberqp. You can find me on LinkedIn, Kelcye Blankenship-Lackland. You can find Cyberqp on LinkedIn, also on the website formerly known as Twitter, Cyberqp or Kelcye at Work. Yeah, I know things will be written out in the description of this because your team is awesome and on top of things. So you can also find my information there. I'm in a couple Slacks, Discords. You can find me around.
She's around. Easy to
Yeah.
find. You also have a podcast. Why don't you go ahead and shout that out while you get
I do. It is called Actually a Podcast. It can be found anywhere podcasts are played. I do that with Morgan McBride at Nerdio, and we will be doing a new episode very soon. So great time to catch up on what we've got and get in before you get too far behind, like I am with New Heights.
Got to catch up, guys.
Yep.
Actually, comma, a podcast.
Yeah.
Good luck tonight, I'm
Thank you.
sorry, Dallas, Seattle. I know Frank will be watching. So
You got Eagles on your mind all the time.
well, listen. Well, the second I turn this off, sports radio goes back on. We're hearing all the smack talk with the Niners. Don't you worry. Hopefully that will be a very interesting and highly watched game. But I digress. One day at a time. Kels, I may not see you in person between now and the end of the year. So if I don't, enjoy the holidays.
You too.
Definitely see you back out on the road somewhere out in the world sooner rather than later. And I'll be tuning in to Actually a Podcast.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for jumping back in. This was recorded. You'll find it at MSPinitiative.com under sessions. And yes, we will make sure we have all of the people tagged in there, like our good friend Jen always does. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.